I want to start this off by saying thank you. I didn't expect last week's video to do as well as it did, but for all of you that watched and decided to stick around, you make all of this worthwhile, and I appreciate that. Since last week we tried our quest rewards only challenge in Fallout 4, today we'll be moving into a different Fallout game, and today I'll be finding out if you can beat Fallout New Vegas with only quest rewards. Similar to our other challenge, in case everyone needs to re-up on the rules, we can only use items or companions unlocked via a quest and can't modify gear we get along the way, but ammo and consumables are allowed to be used. Before we start, I want to say that there are tons of options available for this run, so if you would have done something different, let me know in the comments below and let's get into it. As usual, I made my Hero of the Mojave and set my stats. Strength and Perception were dropped down to 3 to allow me to add more points into Endurance for health, Charisma for speech checks, and Intelligence for experience points. After that, I took a test and tagged some skills. I went with Barter for better sales, Speech to talk better, and Science because I'm an idiot, but we'll touch base on that later. And for perks, I went with Wild Wasteland because it didn't offer any negatives, and Good Natured to give me some extra points into non-combat skills since I didn't plan on starting with a weapon. However, as Doc Mitchell was sending me out into the open, he gave me a 9mm pistol and a set of clothes. I was literally 10 minutes in and I was already better off than I was in Fallout 4. So next I ran around and humored Sonny and then got in on some drama between pissed off escaped convicts and cowboys. However, when I told the settlers of the drama, they took to the street and absolutely shredded them. So naturally I looted the bodies and found a stealth boy. This would be pivotal to the beginning of this run, and how, you may ask? By becoming invisible and running past the spicy murder flies. I was off to New Vegas. After one very uneventful walk, I ran straight to the Kings to talk with their leader. If you're wondering why I'm starting here, it's because I wanted Rex as a companion, and the only way to do that was to work with these guys for a bit. First, they had me investigate a hired gun. Turns out he was making way too much money, and after having him take me on a romantic walk, I found out he was faking his route, and after telling the king about this, I never saw that guy again. I wonder if he's doing okay. Next, I had to go talk to some king members who got jumped and learned that the NCR were behind the attack. Now I had to go find a way to learn what they were up to and how to remove them. I found out they were holding an underground food center, which had the craziest horror vibe ever. And once I went to the king to let him know that the NCR were being nice to people, the NCR began a shootout with some of the kings, but I was sent in to save any who were still alive. With only my vault jumpsuit and 49mm rounds, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pull this off, but what I ended up having to do was lure the NCR over to me one at a time, and then Rambo the other ones who stayed back. Luckily, these guys were also using 9mm ammo, so I didn't have to worry about running out. And because they weren't using their standard NCR armor, the damage I was doing wasn't terrible. Once the shootout was over, I went back to the king and told him I wanted his dog. He obliged but said I had to replace Rex's brain, so I was off to learn how to do this. Turns out all I had to do was go find another dog brain to give to Rex, and after convincing an old lady to put her dog down for $700, I had a brain and Rex even got a damage boost because of this. And at this point in the run, this was a lot of damage. Now, remember at the beginning of the video I said I was a big dum-dum for tagging Science? Here's why. Originally, when I was planning my route for this run, I planned on grabbing Pew Pew, a legendary laser pistol that you got after getting 50 Blue Star caps. The issue is, I tried a method to get more caps faster, and it didn't work. On top of that, I even tried playing blackjack with Festus in the Sarsaparilla factory, and even though I absolutely destroyed him in Lucky Horseshoe, I still wasn't getting enough caps. So I made the decision to scrap this objective and move on to the next part of the run, working for the Van Graffs. After watching Gloria de-atomize some poor bastard, I asked for a job and got assigned to guard duty. It was pretty easy, and I got to antagonize people as they came up, and for the quest I even got a laser rifle and a sweet set of armor. But once I was relieved of guard duty, all of that was taken away. But don't you worry, I'll get that armor back eventually. Next, I went and dropped off a shipment of weapons to some rando in the middle of the desert, and once I returned with the good news, I then got tasked with finding Rose of Sharon Cassidy, a potential companion in this game. All I had to do was go get her and bring her back to the Van Graffs to have a chat. If only it was that simple though. because it turns out I had to run all the way across the world to the NCR Mojave outpost, and once I found Cass, she wouldn't come with me until I sorted out her caravan shenanigans. So I was off to the Crimson Caravan to do some running around for them by delivering a manifest to a scientist. This was enough to then tell Cass to abandon her old caravan life and follow me into a chat with some very nice people. I delivered the girl and the Van Graffs wiped away the debt. Homegirl was de-atomized, but I gained more favor with the Van Graffs, which at this point is all I cared about. And turns out this was enough trust for Gloria to invite me to a secret weapon deal involving Caesar's Legion, only for an ambush to be sprung and the NCR move in. I was blown away. I had no idea what the hell was going on. There were so many people shooting all over the place, and Rex was joining in on the fun by eating people who fell over. Although I didn't actually participate in the shooting, I did a good job and got my Van Graff armor back. I was feeling pretty good about this, and the only thing I needed to do now was get some better weapons. It was time to go visit the Thorn and complete the Bleed Me Dry quest. I met up with Red Lucy and got tasked with grabbing some mantis eggs from Vault 22. It involved a ton of sneaking around and trying to solve areas without using an elevator, but due to Rex being a terror to the bugs, we were in and out and could move on to the next part of the quest. Upon turn-in, I got a hunting rifle and then was told to go fetch some rad scorpion eggs near Good Springs. Only these guys may be at the start of the game, but they definitely don't seem like starter enemies. Rex was able to kill some of them, and I tried to lure some rad scorpions through town, but nobody wanted to help me. After 15 minutes of luring out one enemy at a time and having Rex kill it, I was able to safely get the eggs and return to Lucy. Being surprised I was doing so well, I was then tasked with going and getting fire gecko eggs, which I thought would be rather easy. On the way, I got harassed by some NCR Rangers who told me I had 3 days to say I was sorry or they would kill me. Lucky for them, I didn't have any real way to fight back, so I just walked away. For now. Rex and I continued on our hunt and started to clear out the gecko hideout. This is where I learned that for some reason, if your companion gets knocked down and you leave the area, your companion comes back up with full health. So I tried to take out as many of the geckos as I could, and if I ever ended up in danger, I ran out and back in again to sick Rex on the rest of them. Eventually we got the eggs and could leave. I became level 10 and here were my stats so far. As far as perks went, I was mainly trying to just pick things that weren't weapon specific for now, so toughness was the obvious choice. After reporting back to Lucy, she sent us to go grab some Night Stalker eggs, but along the way I got bullied by some Deathclaws. Talk about bad quick saves. Later on I made it into the Night Stalker den and found a super sweet rock wall to jump up on. This not only allowed me to thin out the herd, but also prevented me from taking damage. By far, this was the easiest egg gather quest, and for a job well done, I got a hunting revolver. But as easy as this was, the next quest was pretty rough. Somehow I had to grab eggs from cazadors and not die. I was going to have to use some strats to finish this quest. So as a detour, I went to the Retcon testing site and began to fight Nightkin in the basement. These guys had a chance to drop stealth boys, and I think the only way I was going to make it through this quest was by being invisible and making a run for it. After grabbing 3 stealth boys, I tried to grab the eggs again from a different spot, and even though I was getting attacked, I did manage to grab the eggs and make it out alive. But nothing could have prepared me for the last step of this quest. I now had to go grab Deathclaw eggs. For anyone who has accidentally ran through Quarry Junction, you know how nuts it can be, and now I had to sneak my way through and somehow get their eggs. I booted up the stealth boy and made my attempt. The first part of the quarry wasn't so bad until I got a high five to the back of the head. Second attempt I made it to a rock in the middle of the quarry, but this is where my companion was getting me into trouble. Rex was alerting the Deathclaws of my presence. Sometimes I would be able to get a fair distance away before I got smacked, but it was never enough to complete the quest. That is until one time while I was running away, I got smacked a few times, almost died, but instead of being chased by the Deathclaws, they got stuck on the terrain and I could make it closer to the eggs. I made my way onto some rocks overlooking the eggs, and the Deathclaw mother who was normally here guarding them decided to take her and her 6 babies on a field trip, allowing me to drop down and grab them. I won't lie, I was stressing about making it out of here alive, but through the power of invisibility and Rex drawing the aggro away, I was able to teleport and complete the quest, getting me the legendary shotgun, the dinner bell. And I had just the idea on how to test it out. Fuck you, dude. After that beautiful test run, I met up with Yes Man and agreed to help him overthrow New Vegas by having him help me overthrow New Vegas. Try saying that 5 times fast. So to start the new world order, I went to show Mr. House my new shotgun. By this point, I had the Shotgun Surgeon perk, which ignored armor, and the Stay Back perk, which could cause knockdown when shot by a shotgun. Needless to say, this would be my main weapon for the rest of the run. So with Yes Man now taking over for Mr. House, he gave me a private show of what his robots didn't show to non-paying patrons, and I was given a visit guide of the Mojave. First up was the Omertas, and they suffered the fate that the chairman did. All they had to do was let me inside their establishment, but decided to shoot at me when I called their mother a cow. Then I went and visited the White Glove Society, and literally found out what happens when you bring a stick to a shotgun shootout. But I spoke with their leader afterwards, being Mortimer, who seemed like a nice dude, so I went on my merry way to the next faction. So now came the Brotherhood of Steel. Normally these guys beat me up and take away my clothes, but this time I had something for them. If you thought a shotgun could outdamage 4 Brotherhood members, you get a gold star. This shotgun was performing witchcraft. It may as well have been taken over the main character slot with me just acting as its personal wheelchair. All hail the dinner bell. So with one more faction left to visit because I had already seen Red Rock Canyon, I visited the Boomers, and even though they shot at me first, Pearl was nice to me, so I left them alone this time. Now with all the factions sorted, I had to go override a power station, and with it being the NCR, I thought they would try to attack me on sight, but I caught them lacking. Sorry, bud. I mean, that went pretty good. With the preparations all done, now came the assault on the Hoover Dam, and the dinner bell did not discriminate here. I broke into a base, set off some explosions, and was soon face to face with the final obstacle, the Legate. Normally you could talk your way out of this fight if you have 100 speech, but I wanted to test the shotgun's potential. Not only did he catch the shotgun blast of the century, but all of his Roman LARPer friends did as well. The NCR rolled in to take over the Hoover Dam, but I decided some payback was needed for the harassment from earlier. Fuck. Perfect. One more talk with Yes Man put a nail in the coffin, and this is how I beat Fallout New Vegas, only using quest rewards. I won't lie, the beginning of this run was pretty hard between low damage and almost nothing to protect myself. I just had to kind of brute force my way through the early quests. But once I got to Rex, the rest of the run began to snowball, and the dinner bell was just the icing on the cake and pretty much sealed the deal on the run. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a ton. Plus, if you have a suggestion for a challenge run you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below. I play all sorts of games, so no challenges off the table. I want to thank all of you that watched to this point, and as always, I've been Chris from Crisis Gaming, and I will see you on the next one.